Hi, and welcome to Energy Today podcast. This is the second part in a series on the ethical dilemma of extended reach laterals. Are they the way we should be exploiting shale reserves? And what are some of the challenges involved? The one thing that we do know is 50 million feet of laterals will be drilled in the U.S. this year. It's a huge number. Anything that we do from getting it right or getting it wrong is going to be done to scale. So I've got some comments on things that we do know about intervention, refrac. So here's segment 2 on the dilemma of extended reach drilling, and is it an ethical way to develop limited shale reserves? Okay, so this is part 2, and we're going to talk about some of the technical challenges. Last time we talked about the scale of what's going on in shale and the potential for getting it right or maybe not getting it right, and maybe moving beyond simply the economics of it's cheaper to drill a 15,000 foot lateral or a 10,000 foot lateral in that early production number. So this is more built on what is ultimate recovery, what are the economics, what are we doing with our core acreage. And my comments are that everything is being monolithically treated, designed. Anywhere you can put a 10,000 foot lateral in, you're doing it. Now we've got companies going to do 15,000 foot laterals. That's a massive commitment to some productions very long ways away. I think that the drilling part is pretty good, floating in casing, whatever they need to do to get to bottom, that's pretty good. But it's after you do the completion, then what happens? There's, I think 4 or 5 different issues to look at. Drawdown in production is a big one. Artificial lift is another one. Well variance. How much gas, how much oil, how much water, cleanouts is another big one, and I'm not going to get into all these. Refrac is currently really doesn't exist. I only know of one refrac program that has been successful, and it wasn't done with the Permian type of completions. It was done a different way. It was very successful. I did some background reading and have found some claimed success in some refrac programs, but I don't buy that there's any commercial refrac technique or capability. It certainly isn't diversion, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. But really, where can you work on these wells? And then if we do get enhanced recovery, guess what? Not going to the toe, not going to the second mile of the well, maybe the heel of the well. But if there is the capability in these unconventional reservoirs to greatly increase ultimate recovery, and ultimate recovery, primary ultimate recovery is fairly low in these tight reservoirs, even over a long period of time. But if there is enhanced recovery, here we go, I'll talk about it now. The first 5,000 feet of lateral, you can re-enter. You potentially could do refrac if the technology comes up. But currently, what I'd say is pretty much all of shale's being developed in a way that there'll be no chance for refrac. And if we get into enhanced recovery, once again, the dilemma becomes that if you find a way to increase ultimate recovery, that first mile would be probably a pretty good subject. So if you have a 5,000 foot lateral and you decide huff and puff, you can find an effective way to do it, or gas injection and flow back. The second mile, no chance are you going to do anything to that. Third mile, less than no chance will you ever do anything to that. So those reserves that you get out in initial production in the second mile and the third mile, that's it. That'll be it for the well. The mile of well near the heel or near the pad, I think that has the potential to enter an enhanced recovery stage. So basically what we're doing is we're throwing away, if we have a reduced recovery factor in the second and third mile, we're throwing that away forever. That will never come back. You will not be able to do infill drilling because issues with frac hits and maybe over intensity of frac activity, poor completion practices, bad isolation, subjects for another tech discussion. We'll get into that. But the other thing is patterns on drilling are probably going to be suboptimal. Yes, you can have your parallel wells, but what about the ends of the pad where you're drilling out? You're probably not going to optimize that. And the further from the pad you get when you're talking about a radial pattern, the less specific your patterns are. Okay, so why don't we have more clarity on this subject? Why don't we have more details? Well, part of the fault is with the regulating bodies, probably with the industry as well. Where is the production data on a well-by-well basis so that we can evaluate best practices, quickly adopt best practices? And if I look across the industry, I've worked in the Rockies and Oklahoma and Texas. I've worked internationally as well. I would say that Canada probably has the best transparency in data. It's a lot easier to find data, but we should, as an industry, require well-by-well production numbers and transparency in what's going on. That's a subject for another one. So let's just kind of go through a conclusion here. We're burning through 50 million lateral feet of drilling in the U.S. shale, and a smaller number but significant number in Canada, and soon to be some significant numbers in the international market. So are we lowering ultimate recoveries? Are we leaving reserves in place knowingly? And I think the answer is yes. The extent to that is I'm not really sure exactly what those numbers are, but I have read enough, although it's really scant, data on what our sacrifice is in ultimate recovery on the second mile and the third mile. The third mile is going to be, I think, going to be pretty bad. But the final question is, are we going to forever strand 125 billion, 1.25 billion barrels of oil with the pursuit of extended reach wells in 2022? And currently, the way it stands, my answer is yes. We're going to strand at least some of that. Now, will it be the exact numbers that I've given you? I don't think so, but I've yet to see verification that we're going to have the same ultimate recovery from 5,000 foot lateral, and then we're going to double that at 10,000 and triple it at 15,000. I don't think that's going to happen. So I think we have an ethical dilemma on extended reach drilling for a whole bunch of parties, not just the operator. And I think that it is something that really needs some attention in 2022 before we burn through 80 million lateral feet of the best shale in the Permian, in Canada, maybe North Dakota as well. Thanks for watching Energy Today podcast.